International Monetary Fund IMF raises Nigeria's economic growth projections for 2023 to 3.2%. Federal Executive Council approves process to start tolling highways. Plus oil climbs as dollar slums. OPEC Plus keeps output cut policy. This is Business Express on a network service of the Nigerian Television Authority, the NTA. We're reaching you from Abuja, the nation's capital. I am Leah Katungbaba Tunde, your guide. We start the business of the day by informing you that the Ministry of Finance Incorporated MOFI has been launched in furtherance of the landmark reform initiatives of the federal government aimed at enhancing the nation's economic fortunes for sustainable growth and development. President Muhammadu Buhari, who performed the ceremony, tasked the Board of Directors and Management to grow the entity's assets under management from the current value of 18 trillion naira to at least 100 trillion naira in the next 10 years. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo has the details.
Although established 64 years ago, this is the very first time the Ministry of Finance Incorporated MOFI has been formally restructured and repositioned to operate in accordance with global best practices as a world-class asset and investment management organization.
It is also the firm belief of Mr. President that all government assets must be known and they must be used to generate cash flows that will contribute to improve government revenues and contribute to the social and economic development of our country.
Apart from the launch of the Ministry of Finance Incorporated, President Buhari also inaugurated its governing council with him as chairman. Former Minister of Finance Dr. Shamsuddin Usman heads the board of directors, while Dr. Armstrong Takang is the managing director and chief executive officer.
I expect you to work with other MDAs to create a consolidated national asset register with a view to converting these assets into cash flow generating entities to support the government's revenue drive, and D, partner with government with a view to using government-owned investments and assets to support the government in delivering on its social and economic obligations to the citizenry.
MOFI is also expected to be the clearinghouse for the management of federal government investments and assets, with a view to ensuring that such investments are delivering superior risk-adjusted returns to the government. The president described as unacceptable that MOFI's peers in other climes have gone on to make major social and economic impacts in their respective nations, with many of them, like that of Singapore, already becoming global brands investing domestically and internationally. He therefore insists that MOFI must, in delivering on its mandate, live up to the nation's expectations as a trusted custodian and manager of the investments and assets of the federal government. From the State House, Adamu Sambo.
The Federal Executive Council has approved the procurement process for the takeoff of a central clearing house for the operations of toll plaza concessionaires across 9 federal highways in the country. Minister of Works and Housing Babatunde Fashola disclosed these on Wednesday while briefing journalists after the Federal Executive Council meeting presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari at the Presidential Villa in Abuja.
The first was with regard to the policy of government to provide a refund to state governments for previous interventions on federal government routes, subject of course to the July 26, 2016 cutoff, after which refunds would no longer be eligible. So the two states who had outstandings with respect to eligible roads were Plateau states and Borno states, and Council approved a refund of 6,601,769,470 naira and 99 kobo in favor of Plateau State, and the sum of 3,084,787,113 naira and 34 kobo for Borno State.
The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has clarified its position on the legal tender status of the old series of the 100 naira, 500 and 200 naira bank notes. The February 10, 2023 deadline for depositing the affected bank notes. And of course, in the line of that, the bank's Ilorin branch is monitoring activities of super agents in the hinterlands, rural areas and regions underserved by the bank to ensure the success of its cash swap initiative. Kende Omolosho reports that the cash swap initiative is to allow more residents change the old notes of 200, 500 and 1,000 naira.
The cash swap by super agents is an initiative of the Central Bank of Nigeria to ensure the weak and vulnerable persons are able to change their monies before the expiration of the deadline. Areas monitored in the metropolis are Osere, Bani, and Ogidi. Said Abdurazak, a super agent at Bani, appealed for more intervention by the CBN so that he can have access to more funds to swap for residents of his area. The 500,000 weekly limit, according to him, is not enough to go around his customers.
I have reached the bank this morning for the collection of the 500,000 because this is the next Wednesday, which I supposed to collect another 500,000 from the bank. I was unable to collect anything from them now. I just left the place.
I came yesterday, but I didn't see the money collected. So as I saw him enter the shop now, I said that I want to collect it. So they give it to me.
Director, Consumer Protection, CBN, Rashidat Mungunu, wants residents to take advantage of the services of the super agents to change their old notes to new notes.
We have accredited agents under this program, and all of them have been registered, and they know that they are not supposed to collect a kobo for this. Just swap to a maximum of 10,000 old notes for new notes.
Rashidat Mungunu implored residents to report any super agent fund wanting by calling the following numbers: 0817-665-7642 or 0708-065-0991. Kende Omolosho.
And how are Nigerians adjusting to this policy? That is our focus this morning, and I have joining me all the way from Lagos, the nation's commercial nerve center, Dr. Boniface Chizia. He is an economist and of course a former central banker, so he is conversant with the issues we're up and about this morning. Good morning to you.
Thank you very much for having me. You are breaking anyway, so I'm hardly hearing you.
Oh my, I hope you can hear me loud and clear now.
Well, okay, I'm hearing you, but it's breaking. Let's see how it goes anyway. Yeah.
Okay, and then rather I can't see your face properly too because you're a bit
you're not seeing my face
down
properly.
into the
Are you?
screen. If you could just sit up
Maybe
so I can see you.
Do I come in? Do I?
Oh, this is okay. I think
Okay.
we're okay. We can just go ahead this
All right.
way. Yes. What is the Lagos situation like?
You mean in terms of the cash situation?
Of course, yes.
Yes. Well, I think it's a crisis we have on our hands. I take a walk at about 6 o'clock in the morning, and as at that time, I saw crowds, at ATM points. I saw it not in just one bank, maybe 2-3 banks down the streets where I live. I went to the club. I went to the club yesterday, and by the time I got to the club, I tried to get some money. That's Ikoyi Club. I was told that you'll be lucky because there's been a queue. So I think that there's some crisis. I went to the bank myself. I got to the bank, and the lady in the bank told me and said there's no cash. There's no cash. I'm not allowed to withdraw across the counter. and the ATM is not loaded in the bank. So I think that we have issues on our hands, and I think that the authorities better look at it properly so that Nigerians are suffering. Right? I mean, people say that it's like season for queuing. So you queue for currency, you queue for your PVC, you queue for fuel, and so on and so forth. So I think that's yes.
So, if you can, from your expert position, give us a sense of understanding. What is the implications for this when we're looking at businesses, we're looking at man hours being affected in offices? What are the implications?
Well, I think that I'll give you an example. I have a gardener that works for me. Normally, I pay him cash because what I pay him is not that much. It's under 20,000. I had to ask him today to find an account because I wouldn't have cash to pay him. And I think that so you find that it's going to affect businesses across board. People are not being able to sell. I went to fuel crisis. I went to a filling station. They gave me priority. I bought fuel. I tried to use the cards of two banks. They both failed. And after 1 week, almost 4 or 5 days later, it was last Saturday, one of the debits has still not been reversed. So you can imagine the implications. So I had to do a transfer. I was lucky I was able to do a transfer. And this is after the filling station had put fuel in my tank. And so what then would have happened? So if I wasn't able to do a transfer. I think that's a crisis. And I think that something should be done and done quickly.
Yeah, and I'm happy you're bringing that up because I also have a similar experience. 3 cards, none of the cards paid. Decline transaction was what came out, but debits were taken from 3 different accounts and 2 reversed. 1 is yet to be reversed, and it has gone beyond the stipulated period. And then the filling station says, okay, can we do transfers? And indeed, as you have pointed out, we opted to transfer, and we just couldn't have access to those banks, to the bank operated by the filling station. Now, this is a personal experience, and there are thousands or perhaps more than hundreds of thousands of Nigerians in this situation. And then what is happening to our banking system, that if you transfer or you use your POS, the money is not dispensed, the messages are there's just a flurry of issues with the banking applications. How critical is it for us to get this right?
Well, I think that I think the central bank should get on the act, because the central bank accuses the banks. I read something where the government central bank said that the banks are responsible, that they give them monies. But I think that this thing should be looked at holistically. I think that let's look at it. Look at this scenario. The central bank has withdrawn some cash. We've been told close to 2 trillion naira from outside the system. But the cash outside the system and the quantum of notes which the central bank is supposed to release, they will never be the same. And so, because we are trying to push a cashless policy, so you expect that the central bank would not print as much cash notes as we have in circulation. But I think that probably what's happening here is that maybe central bank should go and cross-check and to find out maybe they've underestimated what the requirements would be. Because most Nigerians, there's a minimum level of cash which most Nigerians want to carry on them. So for certain payments you want to make, certain things, certain purchases you want to do, and you don't want to start looking for your card to pay, pay POS to pay, or begin to make transfers, and so on and so forth. So I think that it has to be done. But I think it's a good thing that the central bank has said that EFCC and the ICPC and financial units are all on it now, because you see, there's a video that was trending where we're looking for this new cash, and we are spending bundles of this new cash.
In fact, there's actually a number of them.
Yes, so I think that something has to be done.
So, are we really ready for this policy? We have 8 days to go. How do we put our acts together?
Lee, I didn't get that.
Okay, I'm asking, we have just 8 days to go. Are we really prepared to tackle these issues that are coming up with this policy?
Well, with 8 days to go, I think that it's unfortunate, but Central Bank has said that they will make sure that those who have notes are not able to pay into their bank accounts. But I think that what most Nigerians should do in the circumstances, I've said that on a different platform, is to ensure go to a bank and deposit your money. You mustn't be caught with old currency notes in your hands. And now, graciously, as some of us predicted, so the deadline has been extended up to February 10th, and so Central Bank is being magnanimous. Well, maybe magnanimous, or it's being realistic, and then so they've done this. But I said to people, so I don't see any more extensions coming. Well, that's this legal argument that it's a promissory note which Central Bank has issued, and so Central Bank is obliged, to give value, even beyond when the currency note stops being a legal tender. But I think also there are some issues. Central Bank says yes, you can return this money to us and you get value, but it says the Central Bank governor at some point in time did say that you should turn the notes to Central Bank. And so I think that people should be very careful. I think I would make sure that, I don't have any more old notes on me. I don't have notes anyway. I've not talk of old notes. So I'll just advise people to ensure that they're not caught with their pants down. They should not have old notes on them. It's ill-advised.
So what will be your advice to, yes, the cash swap is going on, but we have a lot of these rural areas who are yet to see any team come to them, and a lot of local governments with no fiscal banks there. How do we include these people, since we're talking also about financial inclusion?
Well, I think that Central Bank has said that they are doing. They have agents who are doing cash swaps, and they did say that concerning what's happening now, the crisis they have on their hands, that they just recruited 30. They call them super agents. So they've been doing cash swaps. So I think that I was during following where I did argue that we need to get some people who are in disadvantaged areas. Disadvantaged from the point of view that. They don't have access, they're not close to any bank and so on. So we need to give them different treatment. And so, but of course, the Nigerian Bar Association has argued that this is a legal tender and the Central Bank should, well, like I say here, I think that we have crisis on our hands. The Central Bank is trying to see what they are doing their best, but I think that there are issues. But of course, Lee, as we discussed this, I expect that after the elections, maybe things might ease down a bit, so there might be, we don't know, might see a bit, because you see, the issue of making sure that those who have piled up currencies outside the system, for them to buy votes is very important, and we support it very well. I support it so well. We don't want anybody that has a deep pocket that's stolen money in this country to come and buy votes and win elections. We don't want any person that's not worthy to become president of Nigeria. We want somebody who has capacity, who has competence, who has character to be our next president.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Boniface Chizia, for sharing time with us. I'm told we don't have any more time for this discussion. Thank you for always obliging us.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Global credit rating agency Moody's Investors Service has downgraded to CAA1 from B3 the long-term deposit ratings, issuer ratings, as well as the senior unsecured debt ratings of all the Moody's rated banks in Nigeria, namely Access Bank PLC, Zenith Bank PLC, First Bank of Nigeria Limited, United Bank for Africa PLC, Guarantee Trust Bank PLC, Union Bank of Nigeria PLC, Fidelity Bank PLC, First City Monument Bank Limited, and Sterling Bank PLC. At the same time, Moody's has changed the outlook to stable on the long-term deposit ratings, issuer ratings, as well as senior unsecured debt ratings. of the 9 rated banks. The rating actions followed Moody's downgrade on 27 January 2023 of the long-term issuer rating of the government of Nigeria to CAA1 from B3. The change in the outlook to stable. This action concludes the review initiated on 13 October 2022 and extended to 25 October 2022. Moody's downgrade of the long-term ratings of the 9 Nigerian banks reflects a combination of the weakening operating environment as captured by Moody's lowering of its macro profile for Nigeria to very weak from very weak plus, as well as the interlinkages between the sovereign's weakened creditworthiness and the bank's balance sheets. And so we move to the International Monetary Fund, where it is upgraded its projections for Nigeria's 2023 economic growth rate to 3.2%, representing a 0.2 percentage points increase from the 3% earlier projected in its October 2022 World Economic Outlook. In its January 2023 Economic Outlook titled Inflation Peaking Amid Low Growth, said the review of Nigeria's growth projection for the year was due to measures put in place by the federal government to address oil theft and other challenges in the country's oil sector, but predicted that Nigeria's growth rate would slow to 2.9% in 2024. Also, the IMF's 2023 projections is 0.55 percentage points lower than the 3.75% economic growth rate projected by the federal government. It is, however, 0.3 percentage points higher than the World Bank's projection of 2.9% and 0.1 percentage points higher than the African Development Bank's projection of 3.1% for Nigeria in 2023. The IMF also projected that Nigeria's improved economic growth in 2023 will lead to 4.1% economic growth for the sub-Saharan Africa region. Let's now take a look at the commodities market. And we're back home to the Nigerian stock market, where the bulls have it on the equities market this Wednesday. Of course, they had it. The NGX Gold Share Index advanced by 0.49% to settle at 53,499.68 basis points. Market capitalization also increased to 29.139 trillion naira. At the close of trade, more than 200 million securities were traded by investors in 3,716 deals valued at 5.5 billion naira. And indeed, those were the opening figures, but we move to the global markets.
Markets in Europe are heading for a positive open as investors digested the latest move by the U.S. Federal Reserve and look ahead to more decisions by central banks in Europe. Asia stocks traded mixed on Thursday as investors digested the U.S. Federal Reserve's smaller rate hike of 25 basis points, and Fed Chairman Jerome Powell acknowledged inflation is falling. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index dipped 0.11%, with the Hang Seng Tech Index rising 1.9%, leading gains in the region. In mainland China, the Shanghai Composite rose 0.02%. In Japan, the Nikkei 225 also traded 0.20% higher. Futures linked to the Nasdaq 100 in the US were higher overnight Wednesday. Nasdaq 100 futures gained 0.89%, helped by Meta shares. S&P 500 futures jumped 0.34%. Futures connected to the Dow Jones Industrial Average ticked down 35 points. For Africa, Namibia's overall index opened trade on the bullish lane. South Africa resumed slow, while others are yet to post new figures. Bosede Ebo, Business Express.
And with that, we come to the end of the program. For now, remember to send in your comments, observations, and suggestions. Also be informed that all previous episodes are available on YouTube on the NTA's channel. You can also communicate with us via various social media platforms. Remember that you have 8 days left to swap your currency if you're still in possession of the old 200, 500 and 1000 naira notes. Also note that you can use your electronic channels for transactions. And of course, we've been having a rundown of failed transactions, so you can contact your bank when transactions fail and you get your refunds. Thank you for joining us. Have a blessed day and God bless Nigeria.